The message arrived on a Tuesday, carried on waves of quantum entanglement that humanity had only begun to understand. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the heart of Luna Command, watching as the impossible signal resolved itself on screens that covered entire walls. Her coffee had grown cold, forgotten in the wake of what those alien words meant for Earth. "They're calling themselves the Meridian," Lieutenant Park reported, his voice steady despite the historic nature of the moment. "Their transmission indicates they're about 70 light-years from Earth in the Perseus Arm." Sarah set down her cup, studying the strange geometric patterns that accompany the alien message. "And they're certain about this threat." "Yes, Admiral. Their data shows something consuming entire star systems. Not conquering, consuming. They've lost contact with 37 colony worlds in the past solar year alone." The room fell silent save for the soft hum of quantum computers processing the vast stream of alien data. Sarah felt the weight of command settle more heavily on her shoulders. Humanity had only recently established its first extrasolar colonies, had only just begun to grasp the technologies needed for deep space travel. And now this. "Show me their visual data," she ordered, and the screen shifted. The footage was haunting. Entire planets being enveloped in what looked like living darkness, their surfaces cracking as something burrowed deep into their cores. The Meridian ships, elegant crystalline structures that dwarfed Earth's largest vessels, appeared as helpless as rowboats before a tsunami. "They've got technology centuries ahead of ours," Commander Rossi observed from his station. "If they can't stop this—" "They don't need our technology," Sarah interrupted, understanding blooming. "They need our perspective." She stepped closer to the main display, watching the footage loop again. "Look at how they fight. Perfect formations, sophisticated energy weapons, flawless coordination. And they're losing. Because perfection isn't always the answer," Park said slowly, catching on. "Sometimes you need chaos, unpredictability. Humanity's specialty." Sarah smiled grimly. "Get me a secure line to the Security Council and contact the Titan shipyards. I want every prototype we've been testing activated, even the ones that failed spectacularly." As her crew rushed to comply, Sarah studied the Meridian's message again. They were beautiful beings, their crystalline forms reminiscent of living diamonds, their civilization built on precision and harmony. Everything humanity wasn't. And that was exactly why they had reached across the vast gulf of space to Earth. Within hours, the Security Council had convened. Sarah presented the situation with all the clarity years of command had taught her. The threat was real. It was coming. And Earth had been given a chance not just to save itself, but to prove its worth to the galaxy. "The Meridian are sending a delegation," she concluded. "They'll arrive in 3 weeks. They're bringing technical specifications for their FTL drives and defense systems. In return, they want our tactical advisors, our strategic analysts, and most importantly, our perspective." The debate was shorter than she expected. Perhaps the footage of dying worlds had something to do with that. Or maybe it was the simple fact that humanity had always dreamed of this moment. First contact, proof we weren't alone. Even if it came with a price tag of existential proportions. As Sarah left the council chamber, her comm unit chimed. "Admiral," Park's voice was tight with excitement. "The Titan yards just reported in. They've activated the Chimera prototypes. All of them." "Yes, ma'am. Even the ones that nearly blew up the testing facilities. They're stabilizing them with the new quantum matrices we developed last month." Sarah felt a fierce pride. Humanity might be younger, might be technologically behind, but they had something the Meridian didn't. The ability to embrace chaos, to turn failure into advantage, to look at a perfect system and decide to throw a wrench into it just to see what happened. "Have the yards begin mass production," she ordered, "and get me everything we have on asymmetric warfare tactics throughout human history. I want to show our new allies that sometimes the best way to fight isn't with perfect formation, but with perfect unpredictability." As she looked out the window at Earth hanging like a blue jewel in the void, Sarah Chen knew humanity was about to change forever. But maybe, just maybe, the galaxy was about to change too. The next 3 weeks were a blur of preparation. Every military think tank on Earth worked overtime, analyzing the Meridian's combat footage, proposing unconventional solutions. The Titan yards hummed with activity as experimental weapons platforms were rushed into production. And in quiet rooms, strategists pored over histories of guerrilla warfare, of primitive tribes defeating technologically superior forces, of every instance where chaos had trumped order. They would be ready. They had to be. Because somewhere out in the dark between the stars, something was consuming worlds. And humanity's greatest strength, our beautiful, terrible unpredictability, might be the galaxy's last hope. The Meridian ship emerged from faster-than-light travel like a shard of crystal-catching starlight. Admiral Chen watched from the observation deck of Luna Command as it approached, its geometrically perfect form making human vessels look crude by comparison. Yet there was something almost fragile about its beauty, like a snowflake that might melt at a touch. Remarkable, Dr. Maya Patel whispered beside her. The xenobiologist had been brought in to help facilitate first contact. Their entire technology seems based on crystalline structures. Even their ship's hull appears to be a single grown crystal. Perfect, ordered, and predictable, Sarah noted, remembering the combat footage. Which is exactly why they're losing. The Meridian delegation emerged from their ship like living diamonds catching light, their crystalline forms shifting through colors that hurt human eyes to look at. Their movements were precise, coordinated, beautiful, and utterly, completely predictable. First contact protocols went smoothly, too smoothly, Sarah thought. The Meridian had studied humanity extensively before sending their distress signal. They knew exactly what they needed from Earth, even if it made their perfect forms shiver with something like distaste. You fight without pattern, the Meridian leader, who had taken the name Crystal Prime, observed during the first strategic briefing. Its voice came through translators as musical, mathematical. Your tactics defy logical analysis. Even your failed weapons. You keep them, modify them, when they should be discarded as inefficient. Sarah smiled, gesturing to the holographic display showing one of the Chimera prototypes. Sometimes the most effective weapon is the one your enemy can't predict. You've seen the footage of your own battles. Your ships move in perfect formation. Your weapons fire in optimized patterns. And that thing out there, she gestured to the dark mass-consuming worlds in the recording. It's learned to predict you. The Void. Crystal Prime supplied the name with a harmonic that translated as deep dread. It adapts to patterns, consumes them. We cannot defeat it because it knows us too well. Then it's time it met something it can't know, Commander Rossi interjected, bringing up displays of human military history. Guerrilla warfare, asymmetric tactics, the victory of the unpredictable few over the overwhelming many. It's a pattern as old as human conflict. The Meridian delegation studied the displays, their crystalline forms refracting light in ways that humans had learned indicated deep thought. Your species, another delegate observed, embraces chaos as a tactical advantage. It is difficult for us to comprehend. That's exactly why we might win, Sarah pressed. The Void expects order, patterns, logic. We'll give it randomness, unpredictability. Weapons that shouldn't work but do. Tactics that defy conventional analysis. Over the next days, the alliance took shape. The Meridian provided their advanced technology. FTL drives, energy weapons, shields that could withstand the force of a small sun. Humanity provided what the Meridian could never create on their own. Chaos theory applied to combat, randomized attack patterns, and most importantly, the Chimera projects. The prototypes were everything the Meridian weren't. Hybrid weapons platforms that combined technologies in ways that should never work. Quantum-entangled missiles that ignored conventional physics. Plasma cannons that fired in deliberately unstable patterns. Ships designed to fight while partially phased out of normal spacetime. These vessels, Crystal Prime noted, studying the Chimera ships under construction, they operate at only 73% efficiency. Their power distribution is intentionally imbalanced. They waste energy in random fluctuations. Exactly, Sarah smiled. Try predicting their behavior. Even our own computers can't do it with complete accuracy. Now imagine trying to adapt to fight them. The Meridian leader's form shifted through colors that the translators interpreted as understanding tinged with anxiety. You propose to fight the void with weapons that are intentionally flawed, with ships that behave irrationally. We propose to fight the void with humanity's greatest strength, our ability to embrace imperfection, to find strength in chaos, to do what no logical analysis would ever predict. As the combined fleet took shape over the following weeks, Sarah often found herself studying the contrast between the ships. The Meridian vessels hung in perfect formation, their crystalline hulls reflecting sunlight in mathematically precise patterns. The human ships, led by the newly commissioned Chimera-class vessels, maintained positions that seemed random, their hybrid weapons cycling through unpredictable power signatures. It was beautiful, in its way. Order and chaos, perfection and imperfection, logic and instinct. Perhaps that was what the galaxy needed, not just one or the other, but both, working in concert against a threat that thought it understood how the universe should work. The void was about to learn otherwise. It had adapted to fight perfection. Now it would face humanity's gloriously imperfect nature, and Sarah Chen intended to prove that sometimes the best weapon against entropy wasn't order, it was controlled chaos. The combined fleet dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Cassiopeia sector, sensors immediately scanning for signs of the void. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship Chimera, watching as data streamed across holographic displays. The ship hummed with an irregular rhythm, a deliberate design choice that had made the Meridian engineers deeply uncomfortable. Contact, Lieutenant Park announced, his voice steady. Mass readings consistent with void activity at the edge of the Helios binary system. It's consuming a gas giant. Sarah watched the feed with cold focus. The void appeared as a writhing mass of darkness, tendrils of impossible blackness pulling the massive planet apart piece by piece. Around her, the bridge crew maintained disciplined silence, but she could feel their tension. All ships, battle stations, she ordered. Meridian Fleet, maintain position as planned. Chimera Squadron, initiate Operation Starfall. Random Pattern Delta. The human ships broke formation immediately, each vessel's quantum drive creating unpredictable microjumps in three-dimensional space. To any observer or enemy trying to track them, they would appear to be malfunctioning, their movements defying tactical logic. The void is responding, Commander Rossi reported. It's releasing the gas giant, multiple contact points forming. Sarah nodded grimly. Just as the Meridian reported, it can't ignore a potential threat. Launch first wave of chaos pods. The Chimera-class ships released their first volley, experimental weapons that the Meridian had declared impossibly unstable. Each pod contained a mixture of antimatter and quantum-entangled particles, their containment fields deliberately designed to fluctuate randomly. The void reacted exactly as they'd hoped. Its tendrils reached out to intercept the pods, attempting to analyze and adapt to their energy signatures. But there was no pattern to adapt to. Each pod detonated at a different threshold, creating explosions that rippled through space-time in ways that defy prediction. Direct hits, Park confirmed. The void is struggling to maintain cohesion in the affected areas. It's never encountered weapons like this. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Launch second wave. Meridian Fleet, commence standard attack pattern on my mark. Let's see how it handles order and chaos simultaneously. The battle unfolded like a dance, the Meridian ships moving in perfect, beautiful formations, their crystal ships firing precise patterns of energy weapons, while the human fleet seemed to move at random, their hybrid weapons creating asymmetric patterns of destruction through the void's mass. It's working, Crystal Prime's voice came through the comm, its usual mathematical precision tinged with something like awe. The void cannot adapt to both approaches simultaneously. Its defensive patterns are fragmenting. Sarah watched as the massive entity tried to split its attention between the two fleets, its responses becoming increasingly erratic. When it adapted to the Meridian's precise attacks, it left itself vulnerable to the chaos of human weapons. When it tried to predict the human fleet's movements, the Meridian's coordinated strikes tore through its weakened defenses. All ships, execute attack pattern Omega, Sarah commanded. Random variables authorized. Show this thing why humanity never learned to follow the rules. The Chimera squadron responded with beautiful disorder. Each ship activated its experimental systems differently, some phasing partially out of normal space, others creating localized time distortions, still others generating quantum field fluctuations that even their creators couldn't fully predict. The Void's response was immediate and dramatic. Its massive form writhed in space, tendrils of darkness flailing as it encountered phenomena it couldn't categorize or counter. Where it had consumed countless civilizations that fought with logic and order, it now faced an enemy that embraced chaos as a weapon. Energy readings are critical, Park reported. The Void is losing cohesion across multiple sectors. It's retreating. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as the entity that had devoured worlds began to pull back, its form condensing as it withdrew from the battlefield. The combined fleet pressed its advantage, human chaos and Meridian order working in concert to drive the Void back system by system. Hours later, as damage reports and victory confirmations flowed in, Sarah stood with Crystal Prime in the Chimera's observation deck, watching the last traces of the Void vanish into deep space. Your tactics, the Meridian leader observed, its crystalline form shifting through colors of amazement. They should not have succeeded. They violated every principle of strategic combat we have developed over millennia. That's exactly why they worked, Sarah replied. The Void evolved to fight enemies it could understand, but humanity. She smiled, watching her fleet's ships maintaining their beautifully random formations. We're at our best when we're at our most unpredictable. Crystal Prime's form harmonized in what Sarah had learned was agreement. Perhaps that is why the universe created your species, to remind the cosmos that not everything must follow a pattern to have purpose. As Sarah contemplated those words, battle reports continued to stream in. This was just the first engagement. The Void was wounded but not destroyed. But they had proven something crucial. Humanity's greatest weakness in the eyes of the ordered galaxy. Our chaos, our unpredictability, our willingness to defy convention, might just be the weapon that would save everything. In the aftermath of their first victory, Admiral Chen found herself in an unlikely place, the Chimera's physics lab, surrounded by both human scientists and Meridian researchers. Dr. Maya Patel stood at a quantum imaging station, studying readings from the recent battle. There's something we're missing, Maya insisted, her fingers dancing over holographic controls. The Void's reaction to our chaos weapons wasn't just tactical failure. Look at these energy patterns. Sarah watched as the scientist highlighted various data streams. The Meridian researchers, their crystalline forms refracting light in patterns of intense concentration, crowded closer to the displays. The quantum fluctuations, one Meridian scientist noted, its voice harmonizing with mathematical precision. They create interference patterns in the Void structure that shouldn't be possible unless the Void itself operates on quantum principles, Maya finished. It's not just adapting to patterns, it's literally composed of ordered quantum states. That's why it can consume matter so efficiently. It's reducing everything to its most fundamental, ordered state. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. You're saying it's not just eating worlds, it's organizing them, converting them into some kind of perfect quantum structure. Exactly. Maya's eyes gleamed with the excitement of discovery. And our chaos weapons work because they force quantum decoherence. We're not just disrupting its tactics, we're disrupting its very nature. The implications hit Sarah like a physical force. They weren't just fighting a cosmic horror. They were fighting the universe's own tendency toward perfect order. The void was entropy in reverse, trying to organize all matter and energy into some ultimate, predictable state. That's why it targeted the Meridian first, Sarah realized, looking at their crystalline allies. Your civilization, your technology, it's all based on perfect order. You were compatible with its purpose. Crystal Prime's form shifted through colors of deep understanding. And humanity, with your embrace of chaos, your deliberate imperfection, you are its antithesis. Your very nature disrupts its goal of universal order. The discovery changed everything. Over the next weeks, as the combined fleet tracked the Void's retreat, they began modifying their weapons based on this new understanding. The Chimera Squadron's quantum drives were adjusted to create even more unpredictable states. The Meridian's crystal ships were fitted with human-designed chaos matrices that made their perfect forms slightly, crucially imperfect. But the Void was learning too. Reports came in of it changing tactics, becoming more erratic in its attacks. It was trying to adapt to chaos, and that meant they were running out of time. It's attempting to quantum entangle entire sectors of space, Maya reported during an emergency briefing. If it succeeds, it could enforce quantum coherence on a galactic scale. Everything within that space would be reduced to perfect, predictable states. Then we need to strike now, Sarah decided, before it can complete whatever it's planning. But we need something bigger than our current weapons. Something that could disrupt quantum coherence on a massive scale. The solution, when it came, was characteristically human. In the ship's mess hall, over a cup of coffee gone cold, a junior engineer made an offhand comment about quantum tunneling that made Maya's eyes go wide. "We don't need a bigger weapon," she explained to Sarah later, her hands shaking with excitement as she pulled up equations. "We need to turn the entire fleet into one massive quantum uncertainty engine. Every ship, every weapon, working together to create a wave of pure chaos that would make Schrödinger's cat look like a rounding error." The plan was insane. It would require perfect coordination between the human and Meridian fleets, not to create order, but to create precisely calculated disorder on a cosmic scale. The energy requirements alone were staggering. The risk of catastrophic failure was higher than anything they'd attempted yet. "It's exactly the kind of impossible thing humans do best," Sarah told her assembled fleet commanders. "We're going to synchronize our entire force for the single purpose of creating the biggest mess the universe has ever seen." As the combined fleet made final preparations, Sarah stood on her bridge, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the Void was trying to impose its perfect order on an imperfect cosmos, but it had never encountered humanity before. A species that looked at the universe's fundamental drive toward entropy and said, "Yes, but can we make it go faster?" The final battle was approaching, and humanity was about to prove that sometimes the best way to save existence was to embrace a little chaos. The combined fleet of humanity and the Meridian emerged from FTL into a scene of cosmic horror. The Void had grown, its darkness now spanning multiple star systems, tendrils of perfect order reaching out to consume everything in their path. Stars dimmed as it approached them, their chaotic nuclear fires being reduced to cold, ordered states. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Chimera, her hands clasped behind her back, as she surveyed the tactical displays. The fleet had arranged itself in what the Meridian insisted on calling organized disorder, a formation that looked random but had been calculated to create maximum quantum uncertainty when their plan was executed. "The Void is reacting to our presence," Lieutenant Park reported. "It's consolidating. Energy readings are off the scale. It knows what we are now," Sarah said quietly. "It recognizes us as a threat to everything it's trying to achieve." She turned to Dr. Maya Patel, who was monitoring the quantum interference patterns. "Are we ready?" Maya nodded, her eyes never leaving her displays. "All ships are synchronized. The quantum uncertainty engines are charged. We'll only get one shot at this." Sarah opened a channel to the entire fleet. All vessels, this is Admiral Chen. What we're about to attempt goes against everything we know about physics, strategy, and common sense. In other words, it's exactly what humanity does best. She paused, allowing herself a small smile. Meridian allies, your perfect order combined with our calculated chaos is about to remind the universe why diversity matters. All ships, commence Operation Entropy. The plan unfolded like a dance of destruction. The Meridian ships, their crystalline forms deliberately destabilized by human-designed chaos matrices, began generating quantum fields that perfectly opposed each other. The human fleet, led by the Chimera Squadron, activated their experimental drives simultaneously, each creating unique distortions in space-time. The void reacted immediately, its massive form writhing as it encountered waves of pure quantum uncertainty. Where it tried to impose order, it found only chaos. Where it sought to predict, it encountered the unpredictable. Energy readings are approaching critical levels. Maya called out. The quantum cascade is beginning. Sarah watched as reality itself seemed to shudder. The combined effect of hundreds of ships working together to create disorder was having an effect even they hadn't fully predicted. Space itself appeared to ripple, stars flickering as waves of quantum uncertainty washed through their sector. The void's response was dramatic. Its dark tendrils began to fragment, perfect order giving way to chaos as the quantum cascade tore through its structure. But it wasn't retreating this time. It was gathering itself for one final assault. Incoming. Park's warning came just as the void launched its counterattack. Waves of pure order swept toward the fleet, threatening to lock every atom into perfect, predictable states. Hold formation. Sarah commanded. This is what we planned for. Let chaos reign. The human ships began their final maneuver, a series of random micro-jumps that had been calculated to create maximum quantum interference. The Meridian vessels, trusting their human allies completely, maintained their positions as anchor points in spacetime. Reality buckled under the opposing forces. The void's attempt to impose perfect order met humanity's deliberate chaos, amplified by Meridian technology and human ingenuity. At the point of contact, something impossible happened. The quantum states are collapsing. Maya's voice held wonder and terror in equal measure. The void. It's experiencing total quantum decoherence. Sarah watched as the entity that had threatened galactic civilization began to unravel. Its perfect order couldn't maintain coherence in the face of humanity's calculated disorder. Where it had consumed worlds by reducing them to their most ordered states, it now faced the ultimate expression of chaos. The final moments of the battle were beyond description. The void's form imploded, collapsed in on itself as quantum uncertainty overcame its drive for perfect order. In its place, new stars began to form, the matter and energy it had consumed being released back into the chaos of natural space. Hours later, as the fleet regrouped and damage reports came in, Sarah stood with Crystal Prime in the Chimera's observation lounge, watching the newly born stars flicker into life. Your species, the Meridian leader observed, its crystalline form shimmering with complex emotions, chose to save the galaxy by making it more chaotic. It is beautifully illogical. Sarah smiled. Sometimes the best way to preserve something isn't to keep it perfectly ordered, but to let it be what it naturally is, a little bit messy, a little bit unpredictable, but always interesting. The victory marked more than just the end of a threat. It marked the beginning of a new understanding in the galaxy. The Meridian began incorporating controlled chaos into their designs, while humanity learned to appreciate the beauty of order. Together, they began rebuilding, creating a civilization that embraced both perfection and imperfection. As the Chimera set course for Earth, Sarah thought about the legacy they created. Humanity had proven that its greatest perceived weakness, its chaotic, unpredictable nature, was actually its greatest strength. In a universe that seemed to swing between perfect order and total chaos, perhaps the real answer lay in learning to dance between the two. The stars stretched into FTL streams around the ship, each one a reminder that the cosmos was vast enough for all kinds of existence, ordered and chaotic, perfect and flawed, meridian and human. And somewhere out there, new adventures waited, new challenges that would require humanity's unique gift for turning disorder into victory.